Hey there, everybody. PTPOP here with all four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back. And today, on another episode of Call Center Survivor, I'm going to talk about if me, PTPOP, if I am a bitter call center survivor. Stay tuned. And before I get to the main subject, it's time for some shameless self-promotion.
And now, PTPOP's shameless self-promotion.
Yes. Here's a t-shirt. This is a t-shirt you can buy. This is my alien t-shirt. Why? Picture of an alien. Because there has to be something up there that's better than what's down here.
You're tearing me apart!
Oh, behave. Yeah, baby, yeah!
Groovy, baby!
But you can buy my t-shirts on teespring.com. Just look for me on there, and I'll put a link to this in the description. I keep walking away from the microphone, and I have to go into post and boost the signal, so I have to stay right on top of the microphone. I probably need a cloud lifter. Lift my cloud, won't you? Here's a book you can buy of mine on Amazon. Press 1 for murder. It is a book of fiction about a guy named Jeremy who works in a call center for a bank, and the customers that his name is Jeremy Gant, spoke with on a daily basis could be extremely cruel. Their relentless demands drove many employees to walk out of the call center and never to return to work. Those pressures, compounded with management threatening their jobs if they didn't meet the customer's needs within 7 minutes, put many people into the hospital due to stress related to illness. Could the pressures of working in a call center cause Jeremy to commit murder? Stay tuned. Buy Press 1 for Murder. It's a book of fiction, but it's a book I wrote a couple years ago. I think you'll like it. So there's the end of my shameless self-promotion, baby. Groovy, baby.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
I just love Austin Powers. Don't you love Austin Powers? So today I wanted to talk about something I mentioned in a video several years ago about a woman who I found out, not a woman, a former supervisor of mine, who was my supervisor from 1988 until about 1991. I discovered that she worked at Verizon where I worked. So go back in time a little bit. Little PT Pop gets out of college. He gets his first job with a telecommunications company. And his boss at the time was a woman who was about my age at the same time, maybe a tad bit older. And she and I both went to the same college. We both went to Ohio University, home of the Bobcats. Yay! And she was a good supervisor. She liked me. I liked her. This was a small company of maybe 300 people. I guess you would call it corporate, but it wasn't one of the giant mega corporations. And I liked her. I respected her. She seemed to respect me. She treated me with a lot of respect. So that's 1988, 89, 90, that right around there. So let's go forward to 2009 when I worked at Verizon Wireless. So one day I was looking through the company directory online, and I was doing a search for her name because she was in telecom. I was in telecom, but we had lost track of each other. We had gone to different companies. So I did a search. For her name was Lisa. I found she was, surprisingly enough, she worked for Verizon. She worked for the landline side. I work for wireless. So there's Lisa. I write to her and say, "Hey, Lisa, it's Pete, from the old days." And she's like, "Oh, hey, Pete, how you doing?" And we start talking via email only. We didn't exchange numbers. I hadn't seen this woman since probably 1991, and this is 2009. So it's quite a few years have gone by. And little did I know that Lisa had become the consummate corporate person. And I didn't consider that when I started talking to her. And she's like, well, how do you like working at Verizon Wireless? Here, let me remove this tripod from my poster. There you go. There you can see my poster for my film. My film, The Artist of Documentary. I forgot to promote that. The Artist of Documentary is a film you can watch now on Amazon Prime. I'll put a link to that in the description too, but it's now for sale on Amazon Prime. I've made the big time, baby. But anyway, so I had overlooked that she had become the consummate corporate person, and she's like, how do you like working at Verizon? And I said, I hate it. It's awful here. And I started to tell her all the horrible things and the horrible managers. And she wrote back to me. She shot back this one sentence. She said, well, I'm sorry you're so bitter. I'm sorry you're so bitter, Pete. Good luck to you. Like, and that was it, you know. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry you're so bitter. I think she needs a little dose of Oingo Boingo. There you go, Lisa. And that's all she said to me. And, I came across as being bitter. But keep in mind, when I got this job at Verizon, it had been about 8 years since I'd worked in telecommunications, and I was dying to get back into telecommunications. And I was dying to work at Verizon Wireless. I knew Verizon was the premier cell phone company, and I wanted to work there. I had a telecom background, and then when I got hired there, I was thrilled. I was so happy. I was so happy to be at Verizon Wireless. I couldn't have been happier. And the people at Verizon treated me like a redheaded stepchild. They just metaphorically beat me up and down, kicked me to the street, spit on me. It was awful. It wasn't the worst. Yeah, I'd have to say it's the worst corporate experience I've ever had. Really bad. So I told her that. So this popped into my head the other day, and I said, well, am I really a bitter? Am I so bitter? Am I a horrible, bitter, terrible call center survivor? And I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm bitter. And I think you have every right to be bitter. And this is why. I am a hardworking person. And when people hire me, I come into their company with the intention to do my best every single day, show up early and stay late. I don't fraternize. I don't, sit in the bathroom and sleep. I don't go out in my car and smoke dope. I do the best I can do to my abilities, and I am proud of my work ethic. I have a tremendous work ethic. People like me, or at least they used to like me before the world kind of turned upside down. And I got to tell you, I am bitter because nobody appreciated me in any way, shape, or form, or nobody appreciates anyone in these call centers. And my bitterness doesn't stem just from call centers. My wife and I lived in Arizona for 10 years. In 2013, we decided to move back to Ohio. My wife has a job. She had a job then, and she stayed with the same company and transferred back to Ohio so we could be closer to my friends and her family. Great move. But ever since we moved back here, I can't find work. I haven't been able to find any work since I've moved back here. I found some things. I worked at a couple of small call centers, but they were awful. And I just, quit. I resigned almost immediately. And I was treated terribly by some of these call centers. As, I'm not surprised by that. That's just the way it works, in this world. So I have applied and applied and applied to jobs. I have applied to huge corporations, tiny corporations. I've applied to landscaping companies. I've applied to a whole bunch of different things from, one thing to the next. And I either don't hear back from anybody at all, like that's 99% of the cases, or I just get a rejection letter almost immediately with no explanation. So a couple of weeks ago, I applied to a job in customer service with Nestle Corporation. And Nestle isn't headquartered in the United States. I believe they're a Swiss company, but they have a huge office east of us here. It's a major employer east of Cleveland. So I applied, and I get a response back. And this is what I'm up against. This is what I'm up against in the corporate world. Now, this is an email. I cut the email out of my email and pasted it in here. Young lady writes to me. She says, I'm in the process of scheduling phone screens. However, I would like to get some additional information from you. Please respond to the questions below. Your responses do not need to be long, and bullet points are fine. Once I have your responses, I will reach out with the next steps. Or I will reach out with next steps. So as I'm reading this, I am just blown away with the poorly constructed sentences and the poor grammar. And she says, I'm in the process of scheduling phone screens. It should read, I'm in the process of scheduling phone screens, period. However, comma, I would like to get some additional information from you. So right off the bat, who's ever writing this for one of the biggest corporations in the food and beverage world is an absolute moron. This is somebody who probably didn't even make it out of high school. Please respond to the questions below. Highlighted in yellow, your responses do not need to be long, and bullet points are fine. So that part, I guess, is okay. So then she says, once I have your responses, comma, I will reach out with next steps. Now that's a horribly worded sentence. It should say, once I have your responses, I will reach out with the next step in the process, or the next step. It's terribly, horribly worded. Now this is what I'm up against. I'm a 56-year-old man with 30 years of work experience in customer service and telecommunications, and now in filmmaking and editing. And I guess I'm bitter. I'm a bitter little weirdo. Oh my God, that boy Peter, he's so bitter. Don't hire him. He's old too. He's old as the hills. Pshaw. So she goes down here. If I go back to this and listen, here's the question she wants me to answer. Describe your experience managing customer accounts using a specific workflow, including customer setup and updates. Question number 2. How has you ensured data accuracy? How has I? Where did this girl go to school? How has you ensured data accuracy? Okay, so I don't know if this was a test. I don't know if this was like a test email for me to correct her mistakes. But this is just like, I don't know. I don't know anything about this woman. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know her nationality or her origin. But she sounds like she's dumb as a box of rocks. She just sounds really like, I don't know what. She sounds like somebody that should be. She sounds like somebody should be saying this.
Would you like fries with that? Would you like fries with that? Would you like fries with that? Would you like fries with that?
And it's so frustrating because here's a woman who is employed and I'm not. Here is a person who works in human resources. This is a talent acquisition person for Nestle USA recruiting team. Nestle. This is Nestle. Nestle is massive. Nestle, let me look up the numbers of Nestle here. Let's look it up here. Nestle Corporation. They're headquartered in Vevey, Switzerland. Or Vevey Vaud, Switzerland. You know, they sell baby food, coffee, dairy products, breakfast cereals, etc. They have 276,000 employees. And how much are they worth? Well, this is just off of this is the market summary. They're worth $292.43 billion. So either way, you know, I guess it doesn't matter. But this is a woman who's employed. So let's carry on here. What has you insured data accuracy? Apparently, this person has never insured her data accuracy. What is your experience driving continuous improvements as it relates to process management? That was question number 3. Question number 4, have you collaborated with supply chain and customer service? Question mark. How do you ensure goal alignment? Question number 5, how does this role fit in with your overall career goals? Best regards, and I look forward to hearing from you. Schmuckety Schmuck, Talent Acquisition, Nestle USA Recruiting Team. Now look at these questions. I mean, so my wife, who is very corporate, she's a very corporate person, and she is very successful at what she does. My wife is very successful at what she does, and she's got a tremendous mind. She's very focused. She has a great memory. She's very balanced, and she doesn't have a lot of highs and lows. She's very focused and reasonable and rational. And I showed her these questions. And she's like, I have no idea what they're asking you. I showed these questions to my father-in-law, who worked for the IRS for 30 years, and he dealt with a lot of dirtbags who were delinquent on their taxes. And he had no idea what they're asking. So, I'm not going to go over the questions, but the basic thing is here, this is what corporations are doing now. And yes, I'm bitter. Because I have talents. I have no idea what they're asking. We answered the questions. My wife made up a bunch of answers to help me get through it, but I got rejected. I got a rejection letter that they're moving on to other candidates because they must not have liked the answers I gave them. But the point is, when you're applying for a job now, when you're looking for a job, corporations are throwing things in your way to screen you, to keep you from getting the job. And if they're not giving you ridiculous questions that you've got to answer like this, they're giving you psychological profile tests you've got to take. They're sending tests like if you apply through Indeed will say, well, the employers asked us to give you a test on how well you can navigate software packages like Premiere Pro or After Effects or Photoshop. And they ask these really obscure things, tools and things on Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for 15 years, and they'd ask things, well, how do you do the smigda-banga, bada-banga? Well, I'm sorry, I've never heard the smigda-banga, bada-banga tool in Photoshop. I'm pretty good with Photoshop. I consider myself an expert at it. But these companies do everything they can to trip you up. And it's gotten to a place where it's almost impossible for me to get a job because of questions like this. I mean, what the hell do they mean by this? Have you collaborated with supply chain and customer service? Sure I have. A supply chain. I guess it could have, I didn't think of this till now, but when I was at Verizon, you deal with the store. And this, I don't know. I mean, who was dealt specifically with the supply chain? No. Did I deal with the distribution centers that distributed the phones at Verizon? No. I don't even know who the distributors were, or where they came from, where the warehouses were that stored all the phones. So you've got to find somebody who's worked with logistics and supply chain and stuff like that. But the point is, the person who wrote this can't even construct a decent sentence and doesn't know grammar or punctuation, doesn't know any of it. And she's judging me. She's judging me on how to get a job. She's judging me if I'm a good fit for the job. And that person probably doesn't even know how to wipe her own ass. You know?
It's getting to be goddamn ridiculous.
She doesn't. This woman doesn't know her ass from a hole in the ground. You know, if you handed her brain, she'd think it was a moon rock. Oh, what is this? I don't know what this is. If you handed her ass, said, hey, Mrs. Smoogity Dumbass, this is your ass. She'd go, what? My ass? That don't look like an ass. I don't know what that is. Am I bitter? You're goddamn right I'm bitter. Trying to find a job, regardless of your age these days, is horrible. These corporations don't know what the hell they're doing to begin with. And then when you've got good employees like me, what am I supposed to do? I'm not like some wordsmith that can pull this shit out of my ass and answer these questions. If the point is, if she was interested enough in me, my resume got my foot partially in the door, why not just bring me in for an interview? See, in the old days, this is how it worked. And I'll give you a specific example. Okay, there's a company, and I'm sure you've all heard of, called AT&T. And at AT&T in Cleveland, they have a huge building in downtown Cleveland. And in the old days, back when you actually could get a job, you would drive to downtown Cleveland, park in the AT&T garage, and you'd walk into their human resources department. And it was on the first floor, and it was a big room with glass. It had women sitting behind glass windows. And you'd say, hi, I'd like to fill out an application to work at AT&T. And the woman would, under the glass window, slide you an application. You'd fill it out. You'd give her the application and the resume. And she'd say, okay, well, someone will contact you if they're interested. Now, I did that once, and I got a call, and I got an interview, and it didn't work out because it was a sales interview, and the interview was with 6 people in a boardroom. And I don't do well with interviews like that. I could do it now, but back then, this is 20 years ago or something. But after 9/11, all of this changed. Because a month to the day, on 2 months to the day, on November 11th, 2001, I got laid off from WorldCom. So I said, no problem. I've got telecom background. I'll drive downtown and put an application at AT&T. Well, I get down to AT&T and I park in the garage and I walk up to the door where the human resources office used to be. And this big guard comes up to me and says, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm going to go fill out an application. He goes, no. They don't do that here anymore. You got to go do it online. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was just down here a couple of years ago. And he goes, oh, it's all changed. You know, you're not allowed in the building now. You can't get inside the building without access. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So nowadays, in order to get a job, you've really got to have either such a stellar resume that's just like so sparkles like shining gold in the sun, or you have to know somebody on the inside. Am I bitter? Sure, I'm bitter. Am I meant to work in the corporate world? Probably not. But I still try to do it because it's where the money and the benefits are. I mean, as I've said in other videos, if my wife loses her job, we're screwed. We're completely screwed. You know, we're not screwed for a long time. With her background, she could probably get a job pretty quick anywhere she wanted. She's a phenomenal person and a phenomenal employee. But I got to tell you, you know, I mean, my bitterness, stems from how hard everybody makes things in this world. They make everything so impossible to do. And I'll give you an example with the world of making movies. I made a film, my film, The Artist. I made that all by myself. I had one guy help me with cinematography, but he quit on me halfway through the production with absolutely no notice. He just said, "I'm done. I've got to take a job someplace else." So when I finished the production by myself, I do all this work. I learned all the software. I learned the cameras. I learned the lighting. I did all the editing. And nobody cares. I took it to producers, and they're like, "Oh, who wants to see this film?" They may have been right, but at the same time, you put all this work into something. You show all the, the ingenuity and the stick-to-itiveness and the hard work, and no one cares. Not a soul. In the entertainment world is run by nefarious people. And this is not bitterness. This is fact. The entertainment world, doesn't matter if it's acting, music, photography, painting, movies, anything. It's all run by a big group, and they determine what becomes popular. And if you think you're going to make it rich writing books, if you think you're going to make it rich, making movies or painting paintings or doing photography, you've got another thing coming. Very, very few people ever get the kind of notoriety of, a Tom Cruise or a Beatles or whoever the current music, I'm not hip on the current music things, but you know what I mean. Very few people make it. And yeah, I have skill. I have creative skills. I have editing skills. I have all kinds of skills. But now that the digital age is upon us, everybody thinks they have these skills. And you can see it. You can see it all around you, You see people that go, "Oh, I took a picture of a mud puddle with a leaf in it. Oh my God, it's magnificent." And they print it and they somehow get into a gallery and people are like, "Look at that. It's a leaf in a mud puddle. Oh my God, it's amazing. Makes Van Gogh look like a moron. Oh, it's an amazing photograph." Oh, especially if you live here in Cleveland. I am telling you right now, if you are an artist, stay far, far, far away from Cleveland. Far away from Cleveland. The art community here is just bizarre. And artists are bizarre to begin with. But if you go to Dayton, which is 3 hours southwest of me, the art community is filled with talented, friendly, open, realistic people. Down-to-earth people that will talk to you and befriend you. But here in Cleveland, people are like, "Oh, I'm an artist from Cleveland. Huh. I went to Cleveland State to study film." Huh. "Oh, so what did you go to study film?" I went to Ohio University, and I learned most of it on my own." "Oh, pshaw. Ohio University is scum compared to the Cleveland State School of Filmmaking. Oh, it is the best thing at working in Hollywood or New York's film studio. Oh, Cleveland State. Oh, we are such snobs here in Cleveland about our art." And I'm telling you, the people here and the artwork here is no better or worse than what I've seen in other cities, but people's attitude about their work here is just really fucking weird. People here have got to get a clue, People, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I do amazing work. I studied art at Kent State." If you go near Oberlin or Ashland colleges, any of these colleges around here, these people just, "Oh, I'm so magnificent. I'll look at what I can do with a pen. I can stick it in my nose. Make paintings of the boogers. I'm so brilliant. Yes, we're so brilliant here in Cleveland." Meanwhile, it hasn't occurred to them that they're stuck in Cleveland. And there's nobody here in Cleveland that gives a shit about their art, and nobody knows that they exist outside of the bubble of Cleveland. People here in Cleveland that grew up, most people are born here, die here, and they never leave Cleveland. They have no desire to leave Cleveland. I left Cleveland, and It was a good thing I left, but I'm glad to be back. But there's no jobs here, and it's impossible to get your work discovered here. You will never be discovered as an artist, regardless of your medium. If you're here in Cleveland, you have to leave Cleveland. You cannot stay here. But that's my rant about being bitter. And yeah, I'm bitter. I am bitter, and she was right. But I wasn't this supervisor from years ago. I wasn't being bitter about corporations. I was angry about how I was treated as an employee at this company. They treated me like complete shit from the moment I walked in to the moment I walked out. I was there almost 2 years. And I was bitter because they didn't appreciate me. Nobody appreciates my work ethic. I'm not like this at work. I go to work and I shut up and I'm quiet, and I want someone to say, "Here, Pete, take these things and go do something with them and put them, move them from stack A to stack B, or call these people, and I'll do it." Yeah, I'm bitter. I'm a bitter, angry, guy, and I don't think I'm old. I'm 56. I've got a lot to give. I've got a lot left to give. And the corporations that run the world now are leaving, they're recruiting up to 20-somethings that haven't lived, that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, and don't know how to read, write, or spell. It's scary out there. So, but with that, I'm going to bid you adieu, my friends. Let me see here. I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm PTPOP, and I am signing off. Auf Wiedersehen, baby.
Would you like fries with that? 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 Hey, would you like fries with that? Oh, damn it!